Hello, everyone. Happy to see you today, starting our series as we are now within the coronavirus crisis and everyone is home, at least many people are home. And instead of using the time wasted, we want to add in this period of time more study, learning, introspection, because the wisdom of Judaism and our faith in God is ultimately what is important at this time to strengthen, because this definitely comes from Hashem. That we'll talk about tonight in our class tonight on Zoom. You can all join in. We'll post it on Facebook before about Emunah, Bitachon, faith and trust at this point. But now this series we're going to do every day a few minutes is really what we call Judaism, the rest of the story. So we're living through a pandemic, an epidemic that is not just taken over a city, a country, a continent. This really spread around the world. And it's probably one of the first times when epidemic has spread around the world everywhere so quickly and in such a fierce way, and created the fear and panic that we have. And thank God there aren't many deaths, but if we wouldn't have been responding quickly, some are upset we didn't respond quickly enough in terms of governments, and we're talking about a matter of weeks. If we wouldn't have responded quickly, and we'd still be thinking about it, twiddling our thumbs, who knows what the story would be. So we definitely have to be careful and hope we will avert a disaster, but it's created many more disasters in terms of economically, the uncertainty that a lot of people are dealing with, social distancing. So this epidemic has come to us. And you know, when we look at an epidemic, and for us young people, and I still feel young, I wasn't around by World War II, and I wasn't around by the Depression. I wasn't around during times when really an entire nation was going through a very, very difficult time, and the entire world, or a big part of the world. But this is something I hear even from older people that are talking about how this is so unbelievable. They've never felt, in one hand, where we're living in a society where we're in our homes, we have all the comforts of our home, but yet we feel under siege. So this is an epidemic that has touched everybody. And we always have to look into insight. Is this the first time it's happened? Is this unique? Is this something that's very special? And how have Jews dealt with epidemics? And the truth is, there is a bit of a history, a bit of a Jewish history in terms of epidemics, how we've dealt with epidemics. And the first one that we find is in the Torah, in the desert, where we find that after the Jewish people were joined with Korach in the rebellion against the leadership of Moshe Rabbeinu. This was a rebellion against Moshe, his leadership, what they felt was his nepotism. In their eyes, they were claiming he wasn't really representing God, he was representing his own interests. And they made a calculated decision that they are going to try to bring Moshe down. And we know that the aftermath of it was very bitter, unusual type of punishment was received by the leaders. The ground opened up. It's probably the first earthquake that we know, swallowed them up alive. The rest were burnt by fire. And then for the rest of the Jewish people who really stood on the sidelines, they did not get into the fray, not to protect Moshe, even though they didn't join with Korach, but they didn't protect Moshe. And there was a magefa, there was an epidemic. All of a sudden a plague came across that was unbelievable. It was eating up the Jews, and they came running. What do we do? What do we do? So Moshe told Aaron, now you have to bring Ketores, you have to bring the incense. One of the things they did in the temple daily, twice a day, is they brought incense. And this was an unusual, mystical type of service where they took a mixture of 11 herbs and they mixed them in a certain way, certain measurements, and they used to bring it, light it in a pan in the holy part of the temple, and the smoke used to go up and create a cloud, and this was something that they had to do every single day. So Moshe said, light the Ketores now. And he lit the Ketores, and all of a sudden, the plague stopped. How did Moshe know the secret to light the Ketores? So we're told that when Moses went up on the mountain to receive the 2 tablets of the 10 commandments that Hashem had given the Jewish people, initially the angels did not want to let Moshe into heaven, and definitely did not want God to give him the Torah and the tablets to his ownership. And God made Moshe argue it out with the angels, and obviously he won. He proved to them that the Torah belongs to humanity, to the Jews on earth, not to the angels in heaven. And finally they conceded. But when they conceded, they did it wholeheartedly. And each angel came to Moshe, especially the leading angels, came to Moshe, and each one gave Moshe a secret from heaven. You're taking the Torah. Let me give you a little secret that's important to accompany the Torah. Even the angel of death, which at the end of the day is also an angel of God. He's just doing his duty. When someone's time is up, he's the one that has to do the dirty work. Even the angel of death came to Moshe and said, Moshe, I have something for you. And he told him, if there's ever an epidemic in the world, don't take it for granted that it's random. It's coming from God for the reason you may not know, but there's a way of stopping it. Bring the Ketores. The Ketores has a special place by God that it can stop epidemics. And that's how that first epidemic stopped. Today we don't have Ketores, even though some rabbis founded the Chabad movement said that when there's an epidemic, you should read every day from the Torah. The readings related to the inside gold altar where they brought the Ketores, the incense, about the incense, Shalom at Rashi. But today we don't have it physically. What do we do today? So we find in the time of King David, there was also an epidemic. When the Jewish people made a mistake, King David was so excited to get hold of the ark that held the tablets that he had the people parade around with it in the way it wasn't supposed to be done. And as well, he counted the Jewish people at that time in a way that they weren't supposed to be counted. You don't count Jews directly. And all of a sudden a plague came out, and 100 people were dying a day. You know, today we read the numbers, how many people are dying a day. In small Israel, going back 2,500 years ago, a little bit more, 100 people were dying a day. A great plague, and didn't know what to do. And at that point, it came to King David to enact something that we do till today, and that is that we should say 100 blessings a day. And he enacted, say 100 blessings a day. This will counter the epidemic of 100 people dying a day. And they started to say 100 blessings a day, and the plague stopped. And King David found the source in the verses that we should say 100 blessings a day. And until today, the custom is, it's a law, that a person is supposed to say 100 blessings every single day. The calculations for it, it's not for now. This is a short program. We're going to try to keep it 5 to 10 minutes long. But we should say 100 blessings, and that we can do today. So try today to say more blessings. How do we say more blessings? Eat food. Every time you eat some food, you say a blessing. Before, and you say a blessing after. You can find everything online. You can email me. I'll give you all the blessings. Say a blessing before you eat and after you eat. Do some of the prayers. It's a blessing. Let's do something active to counter the epidemic. And there's no question that we will overcome this epidemic. But there are things that we can do besides following the protocol, which is obvious. Do something. And what I leave you off with today, for the rest of the story in Judaism, is that what we're experiencing today is not the first time. We've overcome, and there's an antidote. Let's start with one that King David introduced. Say at least one more blessing a day. If collectively we say blessings, we will help stem this thing very quickly. So I leave you for today. Tomorrow, join me again at 12 o'clock. We'll do it on Facebook Live for our Judaism Rest of the Story episode number 2. Shalom and be well.